This is the Montana Outdoor Podcast, brought to you in part by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. And by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, get ready for more fascinating topics and the most interesting people you will ever find in Montana's great outdoors. We offer new podcasts most every Saturday. You can get a link to these podcasts by going to our website, montanooutdoor.com, or by going to our Facebook page, or just send an email to Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com and say send a link to my email. It's that simple. Now let's head out with your host, Downrigger Dale, and see what's going on in Montana's great outdoors.
Thanks a lot, Manny. And as Manny just said, I am Downrigger Dale with the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Thanks so much for all of you being here with me again. Boy, we've got an audience that just keeps growing and growing. Seems like every single week I look at it and there's just more and more and more of you and more cities all around the world. I couldn't believe it the other day. Looked it up. We are now have regular listeners in 1,800 different cities all around. So great to have all of you. As I always do, I want to take a quick second and welcome our active military listening from all around the world. We are just honored that when you get a little time off from protecting our nation and many other nations around the world, that you spend a little time with us. That means a lot to us. And on behalf of everyone listening, thank you so much for your service. And if there's anything we can do for you here stateside, just let us know. Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com is my email, and I'm more than happy to give a shout out to any of your family or friends that you know might be listening here stateside or anything else you need. So just let me know. Now, we've been talking quite a bit about spring coming up and spring fishing, which it's hard to believe, but yeah, spring is here. And man, there is some good spring fishing going on out there. So wanted to make sure that, one, that you have your new fishing license. Of course, March 1st was when you were supposed to get those licenses. And remember to take a look at the fishing regulations. There's always some new changes, and so you want to make sure you're up to snuff on those. Of course, if you're coming west of the Continental Divide, rivers and streams, those are still closed and won't be opened up till May, so just be aware of that. Now, there's always exceptions and all that stuff. So anyway, just a quick reminder. Don't want to be the hall monitor here, but just a quick reminder for that. Now, I want to talk a bit about a reservoir we've talked about before on the podcast, but this is a great reservoir. Really is. In fact, if you listen to our live radio show every Saturday morning, that's called the Montana Outdoor Radio Show, we get reports from Tiber Reservoir. Now, that's just north of Great Falls. This is a great reservoir for walleye and many others, and we're going to bring on Josh Parrow. Josh is a fishing guide and guides on Tiber. He has a lot of knowledge, and this is going to be great because we're going to get a good inside peek at what was going on. You know, there really wasn't anyone guiding on Tiber, which is too bad because, you know, as I've always said, that's a great way to learn a reservoir or lake or any of that is hire a guide. That way you really get a good feel for what's out there. And of course, they can give you lots of great tips and directions and things like that. So it was great that he got going. Josh, welcome back to the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Yeah, thank you for having me again.
Yeah, Josh, now last year was your first year guiding, correct?
Yep, first year.
Yeah, and so here you were out on Tiber, and are you still pretty much the only guide that guides out on Tiber?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how those first trips went for you last year.
I had a great time with everybody. We had every great trips. I was honestly really afraid of having a day where we would zero and not catch any fish, and luckily that didn't happen.
Well,
that was like my worst fear.
Well, I think that's probably the worst fear for most guides is, oh crap, what do I do? But
Yeah.
it'll happen someday, I imagine. But two, you're a hell of a fisherman and you know your stuff, so I would imagine that's going to be pretty rare if it ever happens.
Yeah. No, so my first trips I actually did on Nelson a little bit when that first ice off.
Oh, on Nelson Reservoir.
And then
Okay. Hmm.
yeah. And then next two trips after that were on Fresno. And then I pretty much did Tiber for the rest of the year after that.
Okay. And how did it go as far as getting a number of people and all that? Did you get quite a few trips out there?
Yeah, a decent amount, I'd say, for my first year.
Uh huh.
Um, we did, I believe, on Tiber about 10 trips in total. And a few of those were trips that I donated to Walleyes Unlimited banquets and stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, it takes a while to get your name out and that and let people know that you're out there. So, who inspired you to become a fishing guide?
Um, Quite a few people, actually. Obviously, the big one is Trevor for getting me started. This really started with just the random message of asking him if he was going to do any trips up here.
Trevor Johnson.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And he's the current state record holder for walleye, isn't he?
yeah, which was originally on Tiber until he beat it down there. So I need to get it beat back up here.
There, I was just gonna say, yeah. Now you got a goal to do that. So you talked to Trevor and ask him if he was going to
Yeah, I
guide.
just messaged him one day and talked to him about it, and he just asked me if I wanted to start doing it, and I was like, heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then obviously Scott Collinsworth is a big factor in helping get me going too.
Yeah.
He's actually my dad's cousin.
Oh, is he?
Then, yeah. His dad, what we all called Uncle Dave, sadly he's not with us anymore, but he definitely taught me a lot about walleye fishing.
Yeah. Scott is another guy that's just great. I've had both Trevor and I've had Scott on this podcast a few times, and just a wealth of knowledge. So yeah, you had some great mentors and great inspiration there because those guys are fantastic. So let's talk about what you like best about being a fishing guide. Now that you've been doing it for over a year, is there anything that kind of stood out that you really can say, I love it? Or did you, now that you've done it for a year, you go, gosh, I hate that?
Oh, absolutely don't hate it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. But
the one trip I had with a guy named Jesse out of Helena, brought him and his daughters up on Fresno, and that was one of the best trips we had. We caught a pile of walleye once we finally found them. And I came home to the wife and I was like, that was just so much fun. They were so much a joy to have on the boat. And it was just a great time.
Mm-hmm. That's got to be fun to get people out, especially, when they're bringing family and friends with them and be able to just, have a great day and show them what, fishing can really be like out on Tiber.
Yeah. And then the other big memorial trip anyways, or memorable, I should say, was actually two couples from Washington. They called me on Mother's Day and asked about a trip at Tiber. They said they had come to Montana and went to Peck before, and they kind of got nervous on the big water on Peck and got a little rough. So they saw Tiber and heard about me guiding over there. So they gave me a call and asked about a full weekend trip with me.
Mm-hmm.
And so we set a date and we went over there. And sadly, it was windy the first day.
Yeah.
And that was what they were worried about, was wind and rough water. So we didn't go out that first night. And we got out the next morning. And they lived on the Columbia River, so they really didn't care about big walleye.
Mm-hmm.
They actually wanted to go after pike.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of gave me a little bit of challenge there to specifically target pike.
Mm-hmm.
We did get them some pike, but it wasn't phenomenal or anything. And we broke the days up. We went out in the morning and came back in and went back into the camper, got some lunch, got them in the AC because they were elderly couples.
Mm-hmm.
And they came back to me later and they were like, we think we kind of put a big challenge on you for asking you this for pike. So let's just go out and get whatever we can get now.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And we went out, and it actually took their wives back out that evening. And I think they just wanted to go for a boat ride.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Get away and have a little boat ride. Yeah.
Yeah. But they had a good time. It was a real joy with them, and ended up having to offering them some of my mechanical services because they had issues with their truck while I was there too. So I kind of got a guide and a mechanic out of it the same trip.
Well, being a fishing guide, you got to cover, anything can come up, right?
Yeah. But no, we were getting off the water the last trip, and the more able guy of the two, he was able to go up and actually go get my truck for me. And the most elder guy, he was apologizing for being a burden on me. And I said, "You're not a burden at all." I said, "This is why I'm doing this. Is for people like you that wouldn't be able to do it themselves. I want to get you guys out and help you and, take the worry off you and just get you out and fish." I said, this is what I'm doing it for, is people like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you create memories, and that's the thing that's got to be one of the most rewarding sides of what you do is just creating these great memories that'll last forever with those folks,
Yeah.
and
that's what they do. They travel all over the country and Canada. After me, they were going up and fishing with a guide in Canada. They just drove their motorhomes across the country, and they just realized it's easier to get a guide on a lake that knows the lake. Mm-hmm. They don't have to worry about dragging their boats around. They get there and fish, and it's relaxing for them, and that somebody else is dealing with all the worries, and they're just fishing.
Yeah, well, and I've said that so many times on this podcast, Josh, that in Montana, we have some of the most incredible fishing. I mean, we're pretty spoiled. I mean, over this huge state, from rivers and streams to lakes and reservoirs all over the place. But unfortunately, a lot of anglers that fish a lot, they get kind of in a rut where they stick with one place because they know that body of water and all that, and they never venture out because they go, well, geez, then I got to try to figure out, it could take forever to, figure out a new body of water. And that's when I always say, hire a guide, because you go out for a day, maybe two, and you're going to learn all the places to go out on that reservoir, where to find them, what to do, what techniques to use for that particular reservoir, and so on. Now you've got another place to go fish. And
even for me, I thought about it myself. I don't have the salmon gear, and I'd like to go down and take a weekend at Peck and get some salmon. But I literally, crunching the numbers, it would be cheaper for me to book a guide at Peck than it would be to try to set up my boat of all the salmon gear that I would need to go down there for a weekend of salmon with a chance of possibly getting one or two down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it would be
that's a great example is, king salmon there. I mean, one an incredible thing to have in Montana is a reservoir where you can do it, but you're talking Fort Peck, over 130 miles of reservoir and all that. I mean, you could spend forever out there and never even see a fish. So hiring a guide, boy, it just simplifies the whole thing. And especially, like you say, with something like fishing for king salmon, rather than get all the gear, like you said, and that, it's a great way to just have someone else have it all. And then you can see if it's really something you want to get into. Because, down the road, you find out, I want to do that a lot. Well, okay, then invest in some gear. But until then, I mean, I know of a lot of people that are very accomplished anglers that will hire a guide out on Peck just for that reason. So, it's worth doing.
No, that's, and I'm trying to get to people is, you don't have all the walleye gear and you want to learn Tiber, Fresno, or Nelson. You don't want to spend all that money right away, but you want to go and have that opportunity. I'm going to give you 110% to make that opportunity happen for you.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the way to go. Why did you choose Tiber as the reservoir that you wanted to focus on as a guide? Was it just because no one was out there doing it, or what made you decide that was where you wanted to be?
Well, I'd say the number one location is me being in Havre.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, you're not far at all. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes me less than an hour to get over there and get on the water.
Mm-hmm.
And people might have saw a little video of me and Trevor talking on his Facebook page, but like Trevor said, it's a little mini Fort Peck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really, with the species that are on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
when you think about it, really, people have had incredible success. As we said earlier, that was the home to the state record walleye, in fact, caught by a guy fishing off the shore,
Yep.
So.
And it's the home to my biggest walleye ever.
Yeah, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, 2 days before the tournament.
2 days before the tournament? Oh,
yep.
Man, isn't that how it always goes,
yep.
too? Yeah.
I was by myself on the boat, hauled it over to our buddy Kevin and my uncle Dave Collinsworth, and I opened the live well and showed it to him, and Kevin looks at me and goes, "Wrong day."
Yeah. Well, but when you catch a big one, who cares? I mean, it's still a thrill, but it would have been nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk a bit about Tiber Reservoir. How big is it?
14,842 square acres.
Wow. Okay. So it's a good sized reservoir. I've been there several times. Me and the captain have fished there several times. I love it there. It has a nice marina. We always talk to Rue there at the marina on our radio show during the spring and summer months, and she runs a nice place there. I love the ice cream.
And I just talked to her before we talked, and she'll be open Memorial Day weekend as her plan.
Awesome. Okay. So, let's talk about the different sport fish that a person can target over at Tiber. What are all the different species that are in that lake as far as sport?
Well, obviously, your first and big one is going to be your walleye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then there's some good sized pike in there.
Uh-huh.
I think it's been harder for people to find some of the pike if you talk to people the last few years, but they're still in there, and there's some good size in there.
Mm-hmm. Have you run across any of those Gerards that they planted in there? Well, it's quite a while back, I think, but
yeah, me and Trevor were actually talking about that. No, I caught one many years ago, 4 years ago maybe, and then a lot of smaller, different sized trout. But that one Gerard I got was pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. For folks that don't know what we're talking about, that's a very large kind of a hybrid rainbow trout. Kamloops rainbow is kind of another name for it. So they're in there.
And it was a fight. It was fun.
Yeah. Yeah. They do fight like heck, don't they? And then, like you said, the walleye are in there. What else is in there?
So there are the lake trout in there. And if you look at Ruthan's big fish wall, there's some people that have some big, pretty lake trout on pictures in there. And I actually am going to lean to take a day or two and try to figure out some of those lake trout over there. I don't think there's any reason why we wouldn't be able to catch them like we do on Peck.
Yeah. Well, I would think so. What kind of bait fish are in there that these things like lake trout and walleye and others, what are they mainly keying on there?
A lot of it is perch. In there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's like a lot of reservoirs in Montana. Perch seems to be one of the predominant bait fish, and of course, they're also great fish to catch and eat as well. I like perch. Now, Fort Peck's a little different in that the Cisco, seems to be what a lot of those Lakers go after, and of course, the salmon go after. So,
yeah, and there is some of that other bait fish in Tiber.
Mm-hmm. So. You've got a lot of different species there in Tiber that you can go after. that
And
Josh.
big carp if you want to bow shoot carp.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about that. That has.
Yeah, there's some big carp in there.
Yeah. As the captain calls me, I'm a carp magnet for some reason. I will hook onto those, and I don't know why. But
during that year of that tournament, that when I was pre-fishing and caught that big 33-incher, me and my wife were fishing together, and I like to pull cranks a lot, and we were pulling cranks down the bootlegger arm, and we had a planer board just go down.
Oh boy!
And it acted just like a big walleye.
Oh gosh!
And it was during the tournament. I was so excited. I got the net, and I'm shaking. And we had the GoPro actually video, and my wife's pulling it in, and she's counting down the line counter for me, and I get the board off, and I'm like, oh yeah, we got it. This is our big fish of the tournament. Sweet. And it breaks the surface of the water, and it's a darn carp on a polished shad wrap.
Here comes Mr. Carp, yeah.
And I threw the net down on the boat. I was so mad. And she's got the fish just pulling on the rod, and she's like, we got to get it off.
Yeah. The carp can be a spoiler, but they're out there. Some people enjoy having some fun with them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, they can be fun.
Well, we're going to take a quick break here, Josh, and when we come back, I want to talk about some of the access points just for people that may not be familiar with Tiber, of where they can go to launch a boat and that. And then we'll get into techniques and what you use to get after some of these big walleye and that. So we'll talk about that right after this. Here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, we talk about doing fun stuff out here in Montana's great outdoors. Now, we don't bring up work, and we for sure don't talk about taxes. Well, that is until now. But hey, don't worry. I'm going to talk about those things in a good way. What do I mean by that? Well, my friends at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you put your tax refund into the perfect equipment that will get the job done way faster, so you can get back out of here with us and do all the fun stuff in Montana's great outdoors. Now, how can that be? Well, just talk to the gang at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, and they'll show you their incredible line of new baseline equipment trailers and dump trailers. I'm here to tell you, those are things that will for sure help you get the job done faster than you likely have ever thought possible. Now, let me give you an example. Baseline dump trailers have the absolute best combination of quality and functionality that will flat make those trailers the backbone of all your projects. See, the baseline dump trailers at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer feature a multifunctional gate with a holdback system and board brackets to give you extra hauling capacity and stability. And like I said, it's a dump trailer, so whether you're clearing debris, hauling gravel, or managing construction tasks, when you get to where you're going, you just turn it on, dump the load, and before you know it, you're heading to your favorite lake, river, or stream. And that's just one example of how my friends at Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you increase your productivity and make your workday go a whole lot smoother and faster. So go see your baseline dealer. It's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They have inventory in stock right now for purchase. So go see them today. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, Montana at 5680 Expressway. Or just give them a call, 406-549-4243. Or you can go see their whole inventory online at rmtte.com. That's rmtte.com. Do it today because, hey, we miss you out here. It's time to come fishing. We are back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. My guest is Josh Parrow. He is a fishing guide, a great fishing guide. Tiber is one of the areas that he covers, and so we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Tiber. But before we get back into that, I did want to ask you, Josh, do you cover other areas if somebody wanted to go to some other places in Montana?
Yeah, so I will do trips on Nelson
Reservoir, okay.
and obviously Fresno.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did get asked about Francis last year.
Mm-hmm.
I would be willing to go over there. I'd have to get a few trips to make it worth it for me because that's quite a bit of drive. But
Yeah. Okay.
if somebody wanted to make a deal about Francis, I could make that one
Mm-hmm.
happen too.
Yeah, but as we were talking, Tiber is such a great place that that's well worth your time. Not that the others are bad; they're not. But Tiber is pretty special and is definitely worth the time. So let's talk a little bit about spring fishing on Tiber. What would you say is the best fish to target in Tiber during the spring? I'm going to assume it's walleye, but I'll ask you.
Well, yeah, I'd say it's walleye too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's my main target over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and springtime. Now, do you change the way that you target them, the techniques, things like that? How do you fish for the walleye over there in the spring?
Yeah, obviously, first ice off, you're talking more lethargic fish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of a slower presentations.
Yeah, without a doubt. And
unlike Fresno, you're allowed to use live minnows on Tiber. So.
Okay, yeah, and that helps too.
Yeah.
So, is all the ice off at Tiber? I guess I should have asked that first.
No, it's actually still pretty solid.
It is pretty solid yet.
Yeah,
okay.
I just for those that might not know, you can actually go to the Walleye's state website, and there is cameras to see Tiber now.
Oh, perfect.
So the Great Falls chapter, Walleye's Unlimited put up 2 cameras at the arena boat ramp to be able to see Tiber.
Oh, okay. So you would do you need to go to that or just the Walleye's Unlimited state website then?
Yeah, if you just Google Walleye's Unlimited Montana and it comes down, you'll see walleye cams.
Okay.
And there's cameras for different states.
Okay. All right.
Different parts of the state.
Well, that's great information there. Any ideas of when you think ice off is going to happen on Tiber yet? It's always tough, you never know.
Yeah, I honestly didn't look at the extended forecast over there lately, but we're probably at least over 2 weeks away still.
2 weeks, yeah.
I think Fresno's going to be open here this Sunday.
Oh, okay. Are people still ice fishing on Tiber right now?
No, not as far as I heard.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, if you look, I looked at the webcam before you and I talked, and you can see some faint tracks from people driving still out there, but it looks a little sketchy.
Yeah. This time of the year, gosh, be super careful, folks, if you want to give it a try. So once ice is off, which could be, who knows, but probably a couple weeks at least, then you're going to go out and slow your presentation down, things like that. So are you mainly going to jig during the spring walleye fishing, or do you pull cranks even in the spring?
No, I'll be sticking with jigging.
Yeah. Okay. What
Probably
jigs?
A dead stick and a jig.
Mm-hmm. What jigs do you like to use?
Oh, I got a variety. I use a lot of my buddy Rick Cotton. He makes his own jigs and use a lot of his.
Oh, okay. Is there for spring in Tiber? Is there any particular color that you think works a little better?
I'd say gold or white.
Gold or white, okay. And then do you typically tip those jigs with a minnow or something like that, or do you just use the straight jig at that point?
I'm usually using crawlers.
Crawlers? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but a dead stick and a leech is always a good option too.
Okay. All right, because, you can have 2 poles out there on Tiber. So do one, just let her out and do a dead stick, and the other one you're working the jig. A little slower presentation.
And obviously live scope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a different factor into that now too. So.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah. Talk about the electronics. What electronics do you use?
I'm mainly all Lowrance. I do got one Humminbird up front, but I do have the Lowrance Active Target on every screen in my boat.
Wow. Okay.
So
Yeah. And that's another great thing for those of you that want to learn some electronics in that, and see how that works. Because, that can be a pretty big investment, as you well know.
The one guy got my boat last year, and I started turning all the fish finders on. He's like, "Man, you got TVs everywhere."
Yeah. Well, but that's a great way to learn about it and see if that's a style of fishing that you're going to like and what all that entails and that. So that's another great reason for taking a guide out, is you really get some great introduction on that. I remember when my fishing buddy, the captain, when he got a bunch of the electronics when they started becoming real popular, and we went out and then, we're fishing along. I said, so how come you don't really, watch any of your electronics you're using? He said, I don't know how to work them yet. So it does take some time. Of course, nowadays he's quite proficient at it. But what are the typical Go ahead, Josh.
That's a big thing, is if you're going to spend money on electronics, and some of us have deeper pocketbooks than the other, but there are different ratings of Lorantis. I mean, there's been the beginner units of the hook units that are a little bit easier, just turn on and play. And if you're not the type of guy that wants to go through all the headache of learning all the electronics, I mean, just you can start with the simpler stuff. And they actually came out with a entry level active target. And I believe it's on the hook series too, and it's a cheaper active target.
And that's all under the Lowrance deal. What I'll do is I'll put a link to Lowrance so our listeners can kind of take a look at those and that.
And I'm not a spokesperson for Lance.
Oh no,
I understand what I got. A lot of guys like the Garmins. The Garmins are up and coming too.
Yeah, and I'll throw a link on there for that too, just so folks can see if any of you want to learn about them. What are the typical sizes of, since we're talking about walleye, of walleye that you're going to find out there on Tiber?
So sadly, last year we never did hit a trophy fish on any of our trips, but you got a good chance of catching a 30-incher there.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. That's a huge. That's a huge walleye. Yeah.
We averaged 20 to 25 last year. We got a lot of decent fish.
Mm-hmm. Well,
we caught a 26 that looked like a 30-incher. It was fat.
Yeah, and the thing about walleye, of course, is I'm not as concerned about catching some big monster because I like to eat them, and I'm not a fish eater. I really have never been. I love to fish, but I'm not much of a fish eater. But walleye, that's a different story. I do like to eat the walleye. They're just an exceptional eating fish. So you got a good chance of getting some really nice walleye in there. And that is there anything that you have noticed about Tiber walleye fishing, because you've walleye fished in other parts of Montana, that makes it a little more unique at all, or is it kind of your typical walleye lake?
I'd say it's your pretty typical walleye lake. I mean, but you do have a little bit of variety, because you hear stories about guys going to peck and wanting to catch the eaters, and that's all they caught is big trophy fish.
Yeah.
Which isn't, I mean, that's no issue.
Yeah, no one's going to complain.
But sometimes people want to go there and fill the freezer too. So you can get the chance of getting the eaters and a trophy fish on Tiber for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And as far as launching a boat, is there, what are some of the best locations for someone that may not be familiar with Tiber to get a boat in the water easily and safely?
So your two easiest locations is actually on the north side of the marina.
Okay.
There's a single lane ramp there. It is a long ramp, but it's nice. And then there's two ramps at the VFW, which is on the other side of the dam on the southeast corner. And
so those are pretty easy to get into. What about for if somebody wanted to spend a few days there, campground wise? Are there campgrounds at both those sites?
Yes, there is.
Okay, yeah, especially
There's camping all over the lake. It just depends on what you want. I mean, a lot of people from the south side of the lake, they'll come up and drive south Bootlegger, and there's a ramp there, and camping there,
mm-hmm.
and then north Bootlegger, and then straight south of Little Fair up on the Willow Creek arm.
Mm-hmm.
There is a ramp there, and there's no dock at the Little Fair boat ramp though.
Okay, so if you're leaving, let's use the Tiber campground and marina there. If you're leaving from that ramp, where would be some of the best places to go in the spring to find walleye in Tiber?
Most of the people are running up the Willow Creek arm.
Willow Creek arm, and how far of a boat ride is that from the marina? Time wise?
Oh, 3-4 miles.
Oh, heck. So it's right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can go right on the other side of the little peninsula that sticks out into the bays over there.
Mm-hmm. And then up that Willow Creek, what kind of structure are we looking for, and what would be the typical depth that you would want to look for in the spring?
So the Willow Creek arm is the one that has the sporadic islands, and what we call Deer Island and Gull Island. So there's some points up there where you got to be careful.
Okay.
If you're new on there, I would have some good mapping.
Okay.
And
you
got some.
And there's good mapping online that you can get, right? As far as the interactive maps and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But even if you're just showing up to the lake and getting there and asking people, anybody that's been there is going to tell you, nobody wants to see a boat get wrecked up there.
No. Okay. So, so depth wise, what would we be looking for then?
I'm gonna whatever the walleye's in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
There you go.
Anywhere from 1 foot to 30.
Yeah, but in the spring, are they running a little shallower? Do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna try shallower gravel bars in the spring.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good point to do. Is take a look at that and key on those areas and make sure that. You find the buggers, and then the next step is, okay, what are we going to use?
The thing about walleye is they move hourly.
I know it.
Not just seasonally. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was the other question I was going to ask you is, and I always ask people this because everybody kind of has a different theory on it, but how long do you go before you change out? Let's say you're using a jig and you're just not getting any response. How long do you try that before you say time to change that jig out?
Well, I would say live scope definitely changed that again.
Okay.
Because now you're seeing how they're reacting to it more.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, before it was a mainly guessing game, and now you're definitely seeing if you're actually how they're acting to that bait.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, that's changed things a lot across the board. And I know there are some folks that go, nah, I just don't like that. I don't think it's a good thing. I'm completely the other way. I think it's an incredible thing. One, it can really help you be a more effective fisherman. And two, from everything I've heard and seen, it's actually better for the fish because that way you're not picking up a bunch of different types of fish or that you're not even wanting. So you're not stressing out a lot of other fish and stuff too. So it really can, I think it's something that is obviously here to stay, but it really can help. And especially for something like you're just saying is, you're using that jig, and if fish just aren't responding to it, then obviously time to change it out.
I think that's just going to be preference for anybody when they start getting bored. I mean, same thing with pulling cranks or anything. I mean, you can pull a crank for an hour and decide to start changing it up.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm pulling cranks, I change depths and colors as the sun changes.
Okay.
And hourly changes, temperature changes.
Mm-hmm. So give us an idea if it's a sunny day in Tiber, what kind of crank are you using?
brighter and deeper.
Brighter and deeper. Okay. And
Yeah,
then just
yeah,
the opposite,
yeah.
obviously, if it's a darker day and that, huh?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And then as far as changing jigs, a lot of it, I honestly just change the color of jig when I break one off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, broke that one off. I'll just try a different color.
Yeah. We do that a lot of times salmon fishing. That's a good time to say, okay.
And I've done it before where, especially live scoping, is I'll have, if I bought by myself, especially, I'll have 4 different rods right in the front of the boat. And if I got a fish that I've casted at 3 different times and it's not doing anything, I'll grab that different rod that I already have something different tied on and cast that one at him again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whether it's going from a smaller jig to a jig with a paddle tail or even a casting crank.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to take one more quick break. And when we come back, I want to have you go through what a typical day fishing with Josh Parrow is like. If somebody says, hey, I think I'm going to hire that guy to take me out on Tiber, I want to have you talk a bit about what that experience is like, just to give folks an idea of that. We'll do that and kind of wrap it up with some other good info about Tiber Reservoir right after this. Have you ever thought of doing a DIY project for your home? I've known John, Corey, and the rest of the gang at Superior Hardwoods in Missoula, Montana for a very long time. They've always been there for me, and I know they'll be there for you too. A true partner to help complete your DIY home improvements. Heck, they have been doing that since 1977. Whether you're dreaming of a charming accent wall or a complete floor makeover, they have you covered. There is no better feeling than the satisfaction of adding a touch of history to your home with their unique reclaimed woods. Now, I'm not just talking about lumber here. I'm talking about a story waiting to be told. My friends at Superior Hardwoods of Montana proudly stock over 11 acres of stunning reclaimed wood, perfect for turning your house into a home that is as unique as, well, you are. And don't worry, if you're just starting out with your first DIY project, the pre-finished flooring, pre-finished paneling, and trim options at Superior Hardwoods make it easier than ever to tackle any project like you've been doing it for years. So what do you say, gang? Why not dive into your next DIY adventure with confidence and let the decades of experience that they have at Superior Hardwoods take you through every step? Need a little inspiration? Well, visit them online at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, that's a great place to start out by browsing their website, again, at superior-hardwoods.com. That's superior-hardwoods.com. Not only will they help guide you through your home makeover with all their amazing ideas and their over 100,000 square feet of the most incredible wood flooring, paneling, and other wood products, they'll actually guide you through the woods. Now, what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example. First time I went to their showroom just south of Missoula on Highway 93 South, I was blown away by the unbelievable selection of different types of wood from not just Montana, but from all over the world. Best of all, I sat down with them, told them a bit about what I was thinking of doing, and the next thing I knew, I was hearing incredible ideas and learning about the perfect wood for what I wanted to do. That is what I mean by letting them guide you through the woods at Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see them. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, Josh Parrow is my guest. He is a great fishing guide, focuses mainly on Tiber Reservoir. And I'll put a link to Josh's email. So that way, if you want to email him and ask him questions about anything in the podcast description, which when you came to this podcast, whether you came through Apple or YouTube or wherever you're at, there's like 26 different sites that we're on. There's a podcast description. On that description, if you look further down the description, you'll see in bold letters it says links. And under that, I'll have some links there, and one of them will be for Josh. In fact, you just click it, and it'll open up your email program and fill it out and be ready to roll for you. So real simple, and you can get a hold of him that way. So let's talk about what a typical time is like out with you, Josh. Now, do you offer both full day and half day trips?
I offer half day for Fresno because they're in the work week and whatnot with still carrying my full job.
Mm-hmm.
I do full days on Tiber. If I am over there and somebody hits me up in the campground and says, "Hey, I'd like to go out tomorrow," and we could probably talk about a half day, but it's just not feasible for me to go from Havre to Tiber just for a half day.
Right. Yeah. And for me, I mean, and I think really for all of you, once you get going, you don't want to go back in anyway. I mean, it's full days.
Yeah, even sometimes my full days, I even extend them a little bit.
Yeah. So how long is a full day of guiding? How many hours is that?
I'm shooting for 7 to 4, but I'm really flexible. I mean, like when I had that elder couple, we went out in the morning until 11, and then we went back out after dinner that night.
Mm-hmm. So really just kind of, you work that out with your client and just see what's going to work best for them. Okay.
Yeah. And there's a couple, we had a call wind days early. There's that one weekend we had like 70-mile-an-hour winds. And I had to make the call to get us off the water because we knew it was coming. And the wind, as soon as I saw the wind change direction, I told him, I said, "It's time to go." Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then you'll kind of try to work with them on that too, I suppose, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. And then as far as cost goes for a full day of fishing out on Tiber, how much is that?
$650 for a full day.
$650. Okay. And is that's for how many people? Is that just one or?
Typically two.
Two
is what I advertise for. Yeah. If you got a young kid, I'm not going to charge any extra.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
All right. And then talk about what all that includes. I guess best way to start is what do we need to bring and what do you provide?
So all the fishing actual gear is all provided. I would always, I'm going to check the weather as best I can. I advise people to look at their different weather apps too, because for some reason they seem to be different. But just for the weather.
Sure. Well, and
obviously I will have all the life jackets and whatnot.
And I think that's the best way to think, no matter if you're going out by yourself or with a guide in Montana, I mean, it can change. So layer it.
Yeah. And I got extra rain gear and stuff just in case, because you never know what's going to come up.
Okay.
And I don't want people to get miserable.
So anything that we should bring at all? Should we bring a lunch or anything like that then?
Yeah, I usually ask people to do their own lunch just because of my schedule and stuff. I don't have time to make the best meal, but I usually do have stuff in the boat that make sure we're not going to starve to death.
Yeah, little snacks and stuff like that. But
I usually got a cooler and water, whatnot, but I don't exactly provide a full lunch.
Right.
But I do have enough to keep us going by through the day usually.
Yeah, well, and also just everybody's different and everybody likes different things. So I stress that all the time is, bring what you like to eat. Now, as far as the day that goes, what time for a full day out on Tiber, what time would you typically start?
We typically try to get on the water by 7.
Okay.
There was one day I think we were on the water by 6. But I mean, like I said, I'm going to play that by weather and other people's schedules and whatnot. But usually try and get on by 7 a.m.
Yeah, that's a good time to get going and get out there. And how about as far as openings. I mean, obviously you can't get out right now because there's still a little ice left on there. But do you have openings, and how much lead time do you need from someone to be able to take them out?
Yeah, no, I still got a decent amount of opens. May's a little bit getting full, but my June's crazy, but I definitely have a decent amount of openings still in May and June. And I would prefer a week notice would be great.
Okay.
But don't be afraid to call me if it's my days off and I say, hey, yeah, let's go tomorrow morning. I might make it work.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
sure. So,
but I would like a week in advance, but
yeah.
Don't be afraid to call me and try just to see what's going on and what I'm doing.
Yeah, never know. And then do you do just weekends out on Tiber, or what are the days, or can it be pretty much any time as long as you get it scheduled ahead of time?
So railroad changed my days off.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The main full days will be Thursday, Fridays, and Saturdays.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty much when everybody wants to go anyway. So, yeah, that makes sense. All right. And then how do you like to be contacted, Josh? Do you prefer emails, phone calls? What's your preference?
Preference would be just to go ahead and send me a text.
Okay.
But a call or a message on the Facebook is good too.
Okay. And I will...
And you can contact us through Trevor.
Oh, through Trevor.
Tackle.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they can either contact you directly or go through Trevor's guide service as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll have a link to that and phone numbers there. And I'll also get a phone number for Josh directly too. So you can text him or call him. Text works better really from a lot of us because that way, you don't miss him and he can just call you. So,
yeah. And I work night shift still during the week. So.
Oh, okay. Okay, so you probably really like it when a podcaster guy says, hey, let's do a podcast in the morning then, huh?
Oh, my day off right now, so we're good.
Okay. I was thinking, oh, God, I probably messed up there, didn't I? So, in a week notice if you can, but if you can't and, the feeling hits you, well, get a hold of him. He might be able to make it work. So definitely give that a try.
I'll just tell the wife that night, hey, I'm going to Tiber tomorrow.
All right. Yeah. How does your wife like you out guiding now? What's her thoughts on that?
Oh, she's been very supportive about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, she probably
my
knows.
Whole family has really.
She probably knows you'd be out fishing anyway, right?
Oh yeah.
So you might as well get paid for it, Yeah.
No, she's been very helpful, and she's been kind of my secretary for the business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I know she's been very supportive of you, and that's what it really takes, doesn't it, for a fishing guide? It is a family business, isn't it?
Yeah, all my family has been supportive, and Carrie's parents have actually been pretty supportive too.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of screwed up and may have a trip booked in May, and I didn't realize I forgot when Carrie's going to be gone. So my in-laws are going to come to Tiber with me.
There you go.
Just to take care of the baby.
There you go. Well, what the heck, Like I say, it's a family business, and it's that's what I love about it is. The guides in Montana, and I think really anywhere, they're passionate about what they do. I mean, you didn't just choose being a fishing guide because you couldn't think of anything else that you wanted to do on your days off. I mean, you did it because you love what you do, don't you? Yeah,
and I love sharing with other people. I mean, I feel pretty fortunate. I've got a nice boat, caught a lot of nice walleye, and shot some nice deer in my life, and I'm all for sharing it with other people.
Yeah, and then you're also very active in Walleyes Unlimited as well, aren't you?
Yeah, yep.
Mm-hmm.
We're a big part of the Fresno chapter here, and then I hold the Region 4 director position.
Oh, okay.
Do a lot of stuff with the Great Falls chapter.
Okay. Any things coming up for the Fresno or Great Falls thing that you want to tell us about for Walleyes Unlimited before we go?
Yeah, the Fresno chapter will have our banquet here April 26th.
Okay.
The have Rice Dome.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Walleyes Unlimited, they're more than just a bunch of guys getting together and having a few drinks for a banquet now and then. You guys do a lot of good things for fishermen and for the walleye itself. What would you say is the state of walleye fish across this Montana? Pretty healthy as far as the numbers of walleye and all that you've heard?
Well, I think we'd always like to see a little better.
Well, of course. Yeah. You'd always like a little more, but, and so does Walleyes Unlimited give that kind of input to FWP as far as taking what walleye fishermen are looking for and wanting and kind of try to be that representative for them?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually have a lobbyist in Helena for us.
Okay. So, and, for those of you that are listening from out of the state of Montana, you think, well, now what? This is just fishing. No, this is a huge part of Montana's economy. And it's definitely a part of our lifestyle in Montana. So it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And
we're not about just walleye in general. I mean, we do a lot of other stuff for the kids' fishing days and other species. And we actually recently here in Havre, our fire department needed some water rescue suits.
Oh,
their rescue suits were in rough shape. They were leaking and not good. And our Fresno chapter bought them new rescues.
Wow. So you guys do a lot of different things. So, and that's a good reason to join Walleyes Unlimited. Even if you're not a big time crazy fisherman, it is a good thing because you are helping the community for just like what Josh just said. I mean, they do a lot of different things.
Miles City's working on a big boat ramp project down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and don't they do it? Don't you guys do a kids day at Tiber as well? Or did you used to?
Yes.
Or something?
Yeah, we had Camp Walleye that we had helped with, and that was one thing that I really got kicked off of was taking people out fishing. As I used to go over and help with that, and really love doing that. Did have a meeting in Great Falls a couple weeks ago, and there was talk about we're going to try to get it up and going.
Oh, that would be great. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I remember we had, I guess it has been a while back that we got a deal at them asking us if we would, talk about it on our live radio show. So,
COVID kind of killed it for us.
Well, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that did for a lot of folks. So a lot of those things hopefully will be coming back. Anything else you want to cover before we call it a day and let you get back to what you do, Josh?
No, I appreciate your time. And like I said, if you guys are interested, just learning stuff and don't quite have all the gear, want to go out and learn the stuff about new technologies on the boat, new fishing and whatnot. And I'm going to give anybody 110% to give the best opportunity they can have to go out and have a good time.
Yeah. And Tiber, I've said it before, but I'll say it again. Tiber Reservoir is worth your time. That is a great fishery and one that you really ought to go out and learn. And again, the best way to learn any new waterway, and especially, something like Tiber, which is, decent sized reservoir, is hire Josh and have him go out and he'll take you around and teach you about this great fishery and show you where they're at, how to catch them and all that. And then you're off to the races. So well worth the time.
And no, that's one thing I like to do is try to show everybody every technique that we do for walleye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We might not stick to doing a lot, but I try to show them jigging, bottom bouncing, cranking, slip bobbers. I try to show them everything if they've never done it before.
Mm-hmm. And, I can speak for you as far as you're a great source of information. We've called you before for our radio show to give us some insight on what's biting, what's not, and that. So the guy knows his stuff, folks. Give us your phone number, Josh, just so folks that don't want to or don't have access to our our podcast description, which pretty much everybody, there's a couple different sites that don't include our podcast description, which you can always go to montanooutdoor.com and get that. But give us that phone number just in case so that folks can give you a call.
491-6851. And that's obviously 406.
51. So 491-6851. 406 is the area code. And get a hold of Josh.
Yep, great, 406.
Yeah, and let him know what you're looking for, what you want to do. And if you've got any questions about Tiber, anything like that, get a hold of him, or just click that email in the podcast description and boom, you can chat with him that way. So a lot of different ways, or just text him with that number as well. I'll put that number in the podcast description too, folks, so you don't have to rewind and try to write that down, but just wanted to make sure that we had all the right stuff there. Josh, thanks again for your time and that, and good luck this season. It'll be here before we know it, and now would be the time that we get our stuff booked, because once that ice comes off, this man gets busy. So get him booked up.
Excited.
All right, buddy. We'll be in touch with you soon. For the rest of you, we've got a lot of other great podcasts coming up here. So stay right here and listen to the different podcasts that are coming up. And, of course, all of our past podcasts are on as well. You're always welcome to go through any of those and listen whenever you want. So that's all there. We usually drop a new podcast almost always every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. And then, of course, it's up there forever. So, stay tuned, because we've got a lot of stuff. Springtime, we're going to be doing lots of springtime features from different waterways all across the great state of Montana. Till we talk again, be safe out there, everyone. Be good to each other, and we'll see you soon here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Montana Outdoor Podcast. It has been brought to you in part by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows, CM Truck Beds, and Diamond Sea Trailers. Just go to rmtte.com for more information. So what did you think of today's podcast? Send your questions and comments to Downrigger at montanooutdoor.com. We should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, we will see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.